That's what H2F is about. The smallest piece is the ACFT. You should be able to do an ACFT tomorrow. Everybody wearing this uniform should be able to perform an ACFT tomorrow, whenever that day is. And if you can't, you're not healthy. You want to be healthy, not for the ACFT, but because it makes you a better human being. And I need you able to fight a war, and I need you to have my back when we're gonna go fight that war.
I'll always play submission first. I'll never accept defeat. I'll never quit. I'll never leave a fallen comrade.
Welcome to Drill Weekend with the Arkansas Army National Guard. I'm your host, Sergeant First Class Jim Houston. Mental, nutritional, spiritual, and sleep. In this episode, we're exploring the 5 domains of H2F, holistic health and fitness, with Staff Sergeant Derek Yorek, H2F coordinator for the Arkansas National Guard. We'll also talk to Sergeant Ethan Patterson, the Arkansas Army National Guard Best Warrior NCO for 2023, and Sergeant MaryLou Medina and Specialist Raul Gutierrez, 2 of the 10 Arkansas Guardsmen sent as interpreters to CENTAM Guardian 2023 in Guatemala. Also, we'll meet the president of the Central Arkansas Herpetological Society and talk about the snakes at Hunter Lake. Let's get to it. I'm in the training room of the PEC Gym with Staff Sergeant Derek Yorek and Brittany Linford, Assistant Manager and Personal Trainer here at the Miranda Combat Athletic Performance Center.
So, for holistic health and fitness, right, your spiritual domain is your purpose. It's your why. Why are we here? Why are we wanting to defend a country? Right? And that leads into your health and fitness. Why does it matter that I go for a jog? Why do I need to know how to run 2 miles if all I'm going to be able to do is load artillery rounds? Right? Your spiritual domain, your purpose, your why is the foundation of all of those questions, right? So if you can't get through a door, if you can't get out of your chair, if you don't understand how to create blood flow to the brain and to the body, then you can't do the things that you want to do. So by having a purpose, by understanding what you're doing here, some of us have a belief in something higher, right? Without that with us, you can't continue and go on to be healthy. You won't have anything to anchor yourself down. When I teach it, I try to explain it like, what is that rock in the middle of the raging river that you cling to when everything goes sideways? And if you have that purpose, if you have that understanding to cling to when everything's rushing by you, then you can build from there.
Okay. So if someone's never done yoga before, is there a certain class they should come to, or is it all?
No, my class is for everybody. There are progressions and regressions. I can help anybody do anything. If there's a certain pose you can't get into, we'll make a modification, or I'll just have you go back into a child's pose until, obviously injuries and things like that. Some things aren't always doable, but we can work with that. So it's for everybody.
So you can tailor it to the
Absolutely. So.
How often do you offer the class during the week?
So it's 7 a.m. on Tuesdays, and then Tuesdays and Thursdays, 11:30 a.m.
What's it called again?
Combat Dexterity Range of Motion class.
Is there an acronym with that, or?
CD-ROM. Our IT people help me out with that one.
Same question, Sergeant Yorek. How does yoga help fit in with the wellness portion?
So I think Brittany really hit on it. It's a mindfulness, right? Where are you? Through yoga practice or any range of motion and mobility, you have to put yourself into situations that are uncomfortable, right? You can take that mentally and you can take that physically. So to be able to hold a pose that your body starts shaking, you don't want to be in, it's uncomfortable, you're not in that pose often. So you have to mentally prepare yourself to, where do I go, right? What it does is it allows us to practice, hey, when I'm in a situation that I'm not comfortable in, but I know I need to stay in this situation, how do I bring myself back to being present in what's my purpose? I know why I'm doing this. It will get better. And so I have learned through Brittany's classes that I can hold a pose longer than I thought just by breathing, by controlling, by turning on the parasympathetic nervous system. That's what she does through mindfulness. And then I can get myself through any situation, physical or mental, at that point. Yeah.
So you've tailored these classes for people that are training for the ACFT, is that correct?
That's correct.
How is that done?
A lot of it focuses on like mobility, stretching, things like that. A lot of recovery. A lot of people like to come in and do hardcore workouts, but they don't spend a lot of time on recovery. So that's very helpful. We work on breath work, things kind of bring you back to the presence, meditation, being helpful. Especially my class is held in the middle of the day, so it kind of gives you that break in between work, so you can kind of come back, bring the presence, and like Derek said, figure out your purpose and why. So
she's teaching you how to relax your mind
while
through a stressful situation.
Correct.
Right? Which has direct tactical benefits, right? How do we stay present when we're about to kick through a door and you don't know what's on the other side, right? But if you can't hold a plank, you're not going to be able to do that very well either, right? So through those exercises that she's teaching you, right? And then the other side of it is when you're teaching to get ready for the ACFT, you're also physically preparing for the ACFT. So there's training, but then the ability to, how do I recover from that training, right? How do I make sure that my muscles are ready to do the training again tomorrow?
Yeah, almost like priming them.
What do you get out of yoga? What does it give to you?
For me, it was the mental. It was the ability to know that, okay, I am not comfortable in this movement. It's something that I don't normally do, and it's something I'm not very good at. So I had to practice being bad at something and being okay with that. What that taught me is that I can be bad at different things, right? So just because I could run a 10-minute 2-mile did not mean that I could shoot well. Well, if I'm not a great shot, I understand, okay, I just need to practice. I need to get with somebody that can teach me, and then I can learn whatever I need to from that point. Yoga teaches you that, first of all, most of us aren't very good at it, particularly in the military. So
I'm gonna second that.
if we can start to learn, hey, I can do something that I'm not great at, then you can move forward from there and start to work on the things that maybe you weren't good at. Maybe you can lift a lot of weight, and maybe running's not your thing. But if you do enough practice at it, you can get better at it, right? So I think we can take those lessons anywhere, and then you can, again, scalability, right? At first, you just do yoga in here for 20 to 30 minutes, and you eventually work to where I can hold poses for longer. And you can always get to where you're doing 90-minute Bikram, which is the hot yoga in 110-degree rooms, right? Now you're adding another level of stress, right, and able to work through those. So I think what she does really well here is the scalability, right? She can make it work for anybody, and that's the biggest lesson I've learned is that anybody can. You can learn from anyone, and no matter if you're a professional athlete coming in or it's your first time ever doing anything athletic, you're going to get something out of it.
I want everyone to know that yoga's for everybody, and you're not going to get good at it unless you do it. So, and you don't even have to get good at it, to be honest. It's just a nice thing to do for yourself.
And you don't need to show up any special attire or?
No, I mean, I've had people do it in uniform and boots. I mean, whatever you're comfortable in is fine. I think some clothing's probably a little more restrictive, but I'm not. It's a judgment-free zone for me. So whatever you feel comfortable doing it is fine with me. I don't care.
I think the important part that we're getting at with range of motion, right, is I think most people look at yoga as like I don't need that. Oh, this is a foo-foo thing or whatever. However, call it what you want to. Combat range of motion, right? If you call it yoga. However, being able to understand and breathe through, again, difficult situations, but really, why are you doing it? Okay? If you understand that, hey, I'm going to go get better because I need to be a better all-around human being, that's your spirituality. That's your purpose in life, is to be a better human being and to help others get better. Yoga is a massive part of that, and the ability to center yourself and the ability to breathe is paramount.
Of the 60 Arkansas National Guardsmen that participated in CENTAM Guardian 2023 in Guatemala last month, 10 were Spanish interpreters pulled from the ranks of Spanish-speaking Arkansans in the Arkansas Army National Guard. I caught up with Sergeant MaryLou Medina and Specialist Raul Gutierrez during the State Best Warrior competition and asked them about the experience.
This was my first year going to Guatemala, and I believe it was a very great experience, a great opportunity. I was very honored to get the opportunity to go because I did learn a lot, anywhere from Op-Fort training with the special forces, and just getting to know their culture.
I've been in Guatemala a total of 12 times. Every time I go, I learn something different. From the culture, from their military bearings, their passion they do, the way they join. For me, going over Guatemala, I learned from the military is truly designed for the life of the country. They want to make Guatemala a better place to live for the future generations.
So when it came to describing what the American trainers were saying, how difficult was that to translate between what the instruction was and what you need to tell the Guatemalans?
So it was actually a good training experience when it comes to translating, because I did learn a lot of military wording from English to Spanish. It was a challenge, personally, but I did learn a lot.
At first it was challenging because the terminology is different. For example, for us, we call it magazine. In Mexico, we call it cartucho. In Guatemala, they call it torba. So it's totally different. Everything we think, we know Spanish is going to be the same processing language. Is a shocker the way the military terms is changed for everything.
Well, how many things like the magazine, the name for the magazine, how many things like that did you have to remember when you were translating?
It's quite a few, because at this point I've still got to know stuff. For example, here in the U.S. Army we say buddy. In the Mexican Army they say camaradas, compañeros. In Guatemala they say cuas.
Is that they have 22 different dialects. So each little region has its own little dialect, to whereas there's some people that don't even understand Spanish because they grew up speaking their own dialect. Well, growing up, it was more of a Spanish slang that I used, so I was able to pick on more formal Spanish.
Was that fun?
It was challenging.
It's for me, every time it's a learning opportunity. I learn from like we learn from them as they learn from us. That military doctrine, their bearing, their discipline, their passion to do things. Sometimes we have more advanced technology here, and we take it for granted. We go over there, and they're using still Galileo rifle, the M2, A1, no, M16, and they don't have the technology we have. We take it for granted, and they make the best of it. They do it with passion, dedication, and you don't hear them complain about anything. So the passion they do it is, for me, it's an impact.
What are they like to work with? I mean,
Working for them personally is like motivation to me. They wake up in the morning, they do PT in the morning, then they go to breakfast, then they play soccer, then they go to more PT, then they go to the duties, come back, then do more PT, then they play soccer again. Always challenging us, and working with them is the passion for what they do. You cannot describe it. It's hard to describe how much they're doing everything with a smile. Never hear a complaint, never hear negative. The only thing you say is thank you for the state apprenticeship program that goes, for the American soldiers who go and train them, because they say they want to make a better country in the future for them.
There's a reason that we're the assassins, the first to fire.
You're listening to Drill Weekend with the Arkansas Army National Guard. We're in the middle of the functional fitness class here at the Peck Gym, and I wanted to talk to you about the nutrition domain.
Yeah.
What is everybody here? What should they have had for breakfast? What they should be eating during the day to maintain that nutritional level that they need to be at to perform the ACFT and be a good soldier?
So that's a great question. It's a common question in the Army. The unfortunate answer is it depends. Every soldier is going to need something completely different for them. And you need to understand what that is and where that comes from, right? I had oatmeal with peanut butter this morning. Well, I needed the carbohydrate and the protein and some fats, right? Typically, that's what you're going to want to go for. Those are your macros, right? The biggest thing with nutrition, as far as soldiers are concerned, is not what they're not getting, it's what extra they're putting in. I could teach anybody I need to about proteins, fats, and carbs, but if they're gonna go have 9 energy drinks, 2 packs of cigarettes, and a whole log of Skol, what am I doing? What point is there? Your macros could be perfect. If that's your dessert, I can't help you. Right? Cut one of those out, your 2 miles going to get better. Cut one of those out, and you're going to be a better human being all the way around. So the nutrition is centered around, hey, try not to eat something in a package. Try to cook your own food, right? Everybody talks about nutrition being expensive. What's a big bag of rice and a big bag of beans cost per meal? Nothing, right? So the cheapest thing you can do is big bag of rice, big bag of beans. Have a lean meat, and then go get bulk vegetables and tell me you spent a bunch of money. That's not true at all, right? So eat those, right? Vegetables, lean meats.
So what is it you think every soldier should know about nutrition? What should be their mindset?
I think just that. There was a longitudinal study done on diets, right? And it was over the course of around 50 years, trying to see what the best diet was for people. And they had people like the Inuit that only ate whale blubber, right? They had the Mediterranean diets, lots of fish. They had lots of high carbohydrate, right? Look at the Kenyan runners that eat ugali, tons of carbohydrate, cornmeal, right? The Japanese, tons of rice, right? So there's all kinds of different things. Well, what they found is it had nothing to do with what they were eating. It was the healthiest people made their food at home. Were you cooking your own food? When it was unhealthy, they were eating McDonald's, packaged, right? They were sticking stuff in the microwave. So if you want to learn something about nutrition, it's, hey, go to the grocery store, do what we've always said, shop around the outside, get a big thing of broccoli and cook it, right? Grab some meats and then have rice and beans. It's as simple as that, right? Try to be simple. It's not about, if you really want to dial into it, okay, how many grams of protein do I need per kilogram of body weight? Well, unless you're a bodybuilder or you're really getting into things, I think we can really talk about focusing on eating real food, and I think that's the biggest takeaway. Eat real food.
How does the ACFT measure overall fitness? What are your thoughts on that as far as the measurement for how good the soldier is?
Well, I think it's much better than the PT test that we had before. The APFT was muscular endurance and cardiovascular endurance. That was it. We didn't measure muscular power. We didn't measure overall strength, right? And this is coming from someone that the APFT was kind of my bag. I was really good at it. Well, yeah, you throw in, I'm a 145-pound long-distance runner. You throw in a deadlift, that's going to change some things, right? And I'm 100% behind the deadlift. I don't think we needed to do the trap bar, but that's my own opinion. The ability to do a deadlift is core activation, and can you move weight when you need to move weight? And I think that's something that we didn't measure, right? The standing power throw. It's not about throwing a ball. It's about how much power can you create instantaneously, right? The ability to jump. You could have done a vertical jump maybe, right? But we need to be able to measure that to see where we are and to see where we need to improve. Again, a 2-mile run just lets us know where the soldier is cardiovascularly. It's got nothing to do with we want you to be able to run 2 miles. We want to know, where do you need to improve? Where are we sitting as an overall company, battalion, brigade, as an army, right? So having 6 different events, measuring just about everything that we can, I think is perfect, right? So physical fitness is more than passing the ACFT. It's the ability to continue, right? So the question I would ask is always why? Why do I need to be able to do a 2-mile run if all I'm going to do is load 155-pound rounds into a howitzer? Well, you need to be able to do that a lot, which increases, right? If you run your 2 miles and we know where you are and we can increase your cardiovascular system, now we're increasing your ability to load more rounds for longer. Not only that, we're increasing blood flow to the brain. Well, if you can't think right and you load the wrong round, that's not going to help us. But if you can still move while creating blood flow to the brain and making a better cognitive decision, now that's why you're going to go try to run 2 miles, not because we want you to do well on the ACFT, but because now you're a better soldier and a better human being, and you can actually help us win the fight at that point.
One of their main complaints about the ACFT is they can't train for it at home. What would you tell somebody like that?
That they're wildly mistaken. One of the things I like to say a lot is I can ruin your life with 10 minutes and a floor. You can train for the ACFT at home with nothing. And that's one of the biggest things that we teach. With no money, with no equipment, and just in your living room, you can train. What we don't have is the education to be able to do that.
So give me some examples.
Right, the burpee, right? You can do burpees. You can do lunges, right? With no weight at all, you can do good mornings, and you can also do range of motion work, right? You can do high knees, right? You can do body weight squats. And you can put those all together, right? Do 10 burpees, do 10 body weight squats, and do 10 push-ups, and then do 30 sit-ups. Do that over and over for an hour and tell me you're not better ready for the ACFT. If you're a big, strong person, you probably don't need to focus on the deadlift. right? If you can run okay, you can deadlift okay, but it's your push-ups and sprint, drag, carry that are really weak, you're looking at muscular endurance, right? How do you create power for an elongated amount of time? And elongated at that point is 2 to 3 minutes, right? Most people will train 1 or 2 deadlifts and then they'll go for an easy run. So we like to train on the outskirts of where we are as humans, long and slow or short bursts of energy. What we don't do is where it really hurts. We don't like to set ourselves on fire and just stand in it, right? That's what you have to do well at things like getting in 60 hand release push-ups in 2 minutes. Right? How do you push through things that hurt, right? The ability to get rid of lactic acid. So I think most people could do well on focusing on those areas. Right? That's what H2F is about, is that H2F, the smallest piece is the ACFT. The ACFT you should be able to do an ACFT tomorrow. Everybody wearing this uniform should be able to perform an ACFT tomorrow, whenever that day is. And if you can't, you're not healthy. You're simply not. So you want to be healthy, not for the ACFT, but because it makes you a better human being. And I need you able to fight a war, and I need you to have my back when we're gonna go fight that war. And if you can't, then what are you doing here? I think with fitness, I think people need to understand the reasoning for working on their weaknesses. If you're a really good runner, there's several people on the National Guard Marathon team, they don't squat. They don't get in here and lift weights. You hear these people clanging weights around, right? They need to be in here squatting. Heavy weight, because it's gonna help you. If you can come in here and you can bench 400 pounds, great, and you can squat 600 pounds, great, but you can't run to the door, then again, you're of no use to me, because you won't be able to keep up when we need to move, right? So I think with fitness, you really need to broaden your horizons. Think about where I'm weak, and think about why you're weak. You need to be able to do the mobility, get in here and see Brittany, right? Call somebody that you need to know to get it strong enough to where then you can come in here and work with these guys. What John's doing with all of these people is absolutely amazing. And it's a matter of getting everybody together and understanding, I'm gonna suck today. That's okay, because I'm gonna be good at something else tomorrow.
This year's recipients of the Arkansas Best Warrior title were Sergeant Ethan Patterson and Specialist Kendall Upton. I spoke to Sergeant Patterson at Range 30 just hours before the awards dinner. Sergeant Patterson had entered the competition after 3 days of little sleep as the Command and Control NCOIC for the Arkansas National Guard's tornado response. I asked him how he felt about entering the Best Warrior competition with little time to prepare for it.
I thought it was a blast. It's been challenging at times, definitely physically and mentally. A few bumps and bruises here and there, but overall, definitely a experience that others should go for.
So, how would you recommend it to somebody else?
I would definitely recommend it. So you have that physical challenge of competing against the other soldiers within the state, but also that reward. We have a huge camaraderie here. We sit there, talk, chat, cheer each other on, joke around, but it's been a blast just to work with each and every other soldier, both enlisted and NCO.
Physically, how do you feel so far?
Physically, I'm exhausted. Bumps, bruises, you name it. Wake up, barely roll out of bed. You're that sore, but it's been a blast. Definitely something that it's that rewarding soreness is how I'd put it.
How would you prepare somebody from your unit, say, if you knew they were going to have to compete? What would you tell them?
Start running. A lot of cardio. That endurance is a major factor. Just that mental grind is just being in that mental mindset of knowing you have to overcome the obstacle that's in front of you, and then also study your study guide religiously. that board is intimidating and it's not to mess around with, and they will question you on almost everything you can think of. My favorite part would definitely be the combatives tournament. It was both the physical aspect of it, but the mental aspect of it, being able to comprehend where you're at, where you're positioned at, where the other position's at, and then overcome any negative positions you're in. For the marksmanship, I think it was exceeded all expectations. You did a true combat course, so did your runs, your sprints, and then you also had to do a Texas Star, a few different obstacles, and then you had a known distance range that was in between a lot of what you train for, and so you had your spotter who was call out your shots, hits, misses, and where that location was. So to work with your MTU guys who are the experts, and for them to be your set of eyes, honestly, was a blast.
Yeah, I do love the National Guard. I do.
You're listening to Drill Weekend with the Arkansas Army National Guard. So we're in the Beaver Fit tent. It's not fully together, but they're already doing exercises out here. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, absolutely.
So what's the advantage of having the Beaver Fit tent?
Well, I think it's focused, right? So the Beaver Fit tent is here to teach classes that coincide with the H2F modality, right? So this is going to be an education space. Having PT has always seemed like a punishment, right? You're going to do corrective training. You're going to make people do PT so that they could pass the PT test. Well, those of us here and those of us in H2F see it as opportunities to teach things that you can only learn through physical fitness, right? Teaching patience because you're waiting on a partner of yours to get done so that you can do your portion, and everything's under time constraints, right? The ability to activate certain muscle groups when they're so fatigued, right? These are things that we're trying to teach, and so what this will allow us to do is to focus classes, and we won't have to, kind of fight with just someone going in to do their workout. This is going to be for training with an educational purpose.
So you mentioned SHOP. How often do you teach that class? How would people sign up for it? Are there any other classes that they could sign up for with you?
So right now with Arkansas, we're going to run 3 more SHOP classes, and that is going to be during AT period. So we'll have by brigade. We're going to have one with the 142nd, we're going to have one with the 77th, and we're going to have one with the 39th. What we're hoping to do at the end of that, we'll compile everything. I'll write a white paper on it, and then what we're hoping is that will continue, and we'll run, the idea is to run 1 per quarter, either here at Camp Robinson or another at Fort Chaffee and Fort Smith, and we'll run those 1 per quarter moving forward. That's ideally how we would work that. So if there's anybody listening that can continue to help us out to make that happen, that's what we're shooting for.
What is SHOP again, and why is it necessary?
Yep. So SHOP is the Soldier Health Optimization Program. What it is it's a 5-day education course. So that way everybody that comes out of that no longer has an excuse on, they know exactly what to do when they walk into the gym. They know why they're going to the gym. They know why they're showing up and working on breathing, why they're working on yoga or range of motion, and they understand the benefits of learning how to sleep, how to eat, and why it's so important to be a better human being as opposed to pass ACFT and show up in your uniform.
And that's open to any soldier, it doesn't matter rank, title?
No, right now there's no rank or title to it. I think everybody needs it, and I think we're all in uniform, so everybody's going to get something from it.
Tell me the importance of sleep and getting enough rest to recover. How does that fit in with the H2F?
So sleep has a lot more effects on the brain and the body than what we understand. And I'll give an example. So we're supposed to study a lot in these jobs. So no matter what you're doing, there's going to be a DOTI to read. There's going to be an AR. There's going to be dash 10s. Whatever it is that we need to be reading up on, studying, we need to know our craft. So when you read something, temporarily what happens is that you will store information, right? And you'll store short-term memory is going to be in the hippocampus, right? And I won't go too deep into this. Only when you're sleeping will that transfer of short-term memory go to the prefrontal cortex to long-term memory, to where you actually learned it. That only happens when you sleep. So if you learn something and then you don't get any sleep, it can't move from temporary knowledge to long-term knowledge, right? So that's a cognitive effect of sleep. During your deep wave sleep, that is your body's ability to recover. So if you don't sleep, you can't build muscle. You can work out all day in the gym and then not get sleep, and you've done nothing but tear your body down. So the only time that you rebuild muscle is in that restorative state, which is while you're asleep. Right, so sleep is one of the more important domains, and we tend to get things like, oh, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Oh, well, we need to be able to work without sleep. Well, that's actually not true. We need to know how to tactically apply sleep when we need it. One of the things that, one of the education opportunities that we have in Arkansas is the Soldier Health Optimization Program. That's the shop. What we teach at the shop is we actually have an area of the education where you will take a tactical nap. I will start a clock and you are supposed to take a nap for 15 minutes. What we found is that most people can't fall asleep in that. So we need to teach them how to turn on that parasympathetic nervous system. And we do that for reasons like a 36-hour mission, where, hey, they're going to walk up and go, this platoon is up, your platoon is down, you need to bed down right now. And it could be in the middle of the day. If you can't do that, you're not going to function well when it's your turn to be up. Right? Major Brager is one of the leading scientists in sleep, and she is active duty, obviously active duty Army, and what she teaches is things like coffee naps, right? So when you take a 15-minute nap, what you do is you clear adenosine from the brain. Adenosine is something that fills the receptacles of things like caffeine. So that's why you get tired throughout the day. That's why if you just keep chugging coffee on a 24-hour op, it has less and less effect. Well, it's because adenosine is blocking all those receptors. And as short as a 15-minute nap, you will clear all adenosine from the brain, and now the receptors are completely open. Now that coffee is going to actually do something. But if you don't sleep, you cannot clear adenosine from the brain. Those are some very, very small, specific examples, but that's just touching on how important sleep is and why we need it.
You have a marathon coming up this weekend?
I have an Ironman this weekend.
Ironman coming up this weekend.
Marathon 2 weeks after that.
So what do you run around here on Camp Robinson? What would be a favorite run for you to get ready for that?
My absolute favorite run is going around the lake. You can do 4 to 5 miles easy. I go up and around the obstacle course, back down through the lakes. Sometimes I'll run around both lakes. You can get out here on the golf course every now and then if it's in the evening or in the mornings. It's a beautiful run that they have trails all through here. So if I just want to enjoy myself, get out and enjoy the weather, I absolutely will go do that run.
So before we finish today, is there any final thoughts that you'd like to give us?
Just that holistic health and fitness is more than the ACFT. I think we combine those two because in the Army we think health is measured by numbers. We think that health is measured by how many people are passing or failing in ACFT or height, weight. It's easy to lose 10 pounds. Don't eat next week. Super easy. But why is that important? Why would losing weight be important, right? We don't want you just to lose weight. We want you to be fitter and better as a human being. We want you to be able to apply what you've learned so that way we can be ready when shit hits the fan. And I think that's the most important thing moving forward, is that H2F is more than your ACFT. It's more than height, weight. It's teaching how to be a better human. And we just don't have that education. That's the number one resource that we have, is education. Just because we give somebody a gym membership does not mean that they're going to go in and know how to use it. And it doesn't mean they're going to have the motivation to go use it if they don't have a purpose or they don't understand why. Right? So I think the biggest takeaway is just understanding that, one, H2F is more than the numbers, and two, our greatest resource is education. How do we get this education to everybody in this uniform and their families that support them?
If Hunter Lake is your go-to running spot for lunch, after work, or drill, you might have learned to keep an eye ahead of you for snakes. So when I got an opportunity to talk with Sergeant Connor Hessington, Black Hawk maintainer with the 77th Aviation Brigade and president of the Central Arkansas Herpetological Society, we went to Hunter Lake and I asked him every crazy snake question I could think of.
So pretty much around Camp Robinson, and specifically around Hunter Lake, you're going to find probably a lot of water snakes. The southern, the midland water snake, which is the two most common mistaken snakes for the copperhead and the cottonmouth that a lot of people talk about. So that's some of the main snakes we're probably going to see around the water's edge. If there's a lot of greenery, we might see the smooth and rough green snake. It's a very pretty lime green, slender snake. It's very fast. They usually hang around bodies of water. Around here, definitely going to have copperheads. It's really hard to misidentify a copperhead, but you'd probably definitely see those around here, especially on the trails where the concrete kind of meets the edge of the path where they want to warm up and quickly get away. There are probably the few timber rattlesnakes around here. They are very rare to find. I don't normally see those in the wild. And some of a lot of them, if you turned up rocks and stuff like that, you'd see a lot of ringneck snakes, which a lot of people seem to find, and they seem to always be in groups of at least 3 is usually how I find them. And then, of course, the garter snake that we all know. There's actually 2 species that look very similar, the garter snake and the ribbon snake. That one is a little bit harder to identify if you do not know and get close enough to their heads, where they have 2 little dots on the base of their head. That's kind of their biggest identifier to find out which one's which.
If someone comes in here to run, should they really even worry about the snakes?
If you're coming in here to run, the only time I would think that you're probably going to see one is in the middle of the road where it's sunning. And then by the time you get close enough to it, it's going to scurry off very fastly, and you'll probably just hear the rustle of the leaves. First thing in the morning, and most of the time right before it gets dark, is when you would start to see snakes come back out again, get that last little bit of sun before they either go to sleep at night, or the nocturnal snakes like pit vipers and stuff like that, before they start hunting for the evening.
So, you were saying that a certain time of the year is when we're in the breeding season now, is that right?
Yeah, so they're coming out of brumation. So they've pretty much went through they ate, and then they just kind of hung out for the winter time. But they are starting to come out of their dens of where they brumated at, and trying to get back on food, getting ready to start breeding again. Yeah.
So that's why we see more of them this time of year in the spring than we do, say, in the summer or later.
Yeah. So right now the temperatures are not too hot during the day, but do still kind of get too cold at night. So you will see them come out more often than we will in the summertime, because during the summertime it is too hot. A snake can get too hot, and once they get too hot, that can kill them. Too much heat will kill a snake faster than it being cold.
So, let's get to the science of it a little bit. Now, you're telling me that they actually breed at a certain temperature. Is that right? Or?
Yeah. So, a snake, once they start picking up on barometric pressure changes and stuff like that, as well as temperature changes, that stimulates males and females to start getting ready to breed and copulate.
Okay. Like they're breeding now, or
getting ready to, or laying eggs. It can be either or for certain species, and it's a lot of species, because we have, like I said, we have 36 species of snake in Arkansas, 6 of which being venomous, and one of which here in central Arkansas we will not find. But yeah, they all have different breeding seasons and stuff like that. So, but right now they're just trying to fatten back up after coming out of brumation for the wintertime, and so that's why you're going to see a lot more of them than you would in the dead middle of summer. And then they start getting ready for brumation in late fall once we start getting the colder nights. So they'll start eating more once that temperature changes. They're just going to eat everything that they can, as much as they can, so that way they have that fat storage to hide out for the rest of the winter until it becomes springtime again.
Is that your boss?
That is my boss. How's it going, man?
It's going great. How are you guys doing?
Good. We're doing a little podcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm looking for snakes.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, see what we can find anything
out here.
Yeah, they're starting to come out and warm up, huh?
Yeah. So it'd be
Did you
cool.
find any so far?
Not yet.
Okay.
Hopefully, maybe. I got my snake hook, so we can be safe. I didn't bring my PT belt though.
That's all right. That's all right.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Okay.
Yeah, what brings you out here? I'm recording, by the way.
I'm just enjoying the beautiful weather. I'm really sore from my workout yesterday morning, and so I needed to walk and stretch my legs and try to work out some of that soreness. So, and I'm using my time to do a little listen to a podcast.
Nice.
On Breaking Doctrine, the new FM 3.0.
You worried about any snakes?
I am not. I know that they're just as scared of me as I am of them, and I want to leave them be.
Very true. Very true.
So, yeah. All right, y'all have fun. See ya.
See ya.
And what is it we're doing? A herping?
Yeah, so right now, technically, we are herping. I have my snake hook. We are on a path, and we are next to a large body of water where naturally all animals are going to congregate around. And so we have a little bit of sun right before the sun goes down, and the snakes are going to be trying to get snakes, turtles, lizards, they're all going to be trying to get that last little bit of heat before it gets cold tonight. And yeah, we'll see what we can find. Every species is definitely different, but every snake also has an individual personality as well. But learning where they live, the humidity levels, what they eat, when they should eat, and certain things like that, you have to take in consideration, because they are different, and they are from different parts of the world. So some like it a lot hotter, some like it significantly cooler, some have longer day cycles, and then you need to know when to turn that off, so that way they do have a good yearly cycle as well.
Yeah, as far as the personalities of the snakes here at Hunter Lake, I've heard stories of people being chased by snakes. Is that even a thing?
So this is super controversial, but in my professional opinion, no. Snakes will not chase you. If a snake is given an opportunity, that snake will turn the other way. I have been herping for years and years and years, catching the infamous cottonmouth that supposedly chases you, and I have yet to find one that comes after me. They will always try to go the other way before I can do anything. The most common thing is when people either wrongly ID the snake and they pick it up and it turns out to be a cottonmouth, or they step on it. That is, in most cases, when you get bit by a cottonmouth, is by not seeing it or falsely IDing it.
So how would they stay safe? Say they're running pretty fast on the trails and they're looking ahead of them, but maybe they're coming up on a stick that looks a little...
If you don't know what it is, don't touch it. Don't pick it up. If it's on the left side of the road and you're on the right, stay on the right-hand side. Like I said, if you don't know what it is, just don't pick it up. So that way you're not an accident waiting to happen. But other than that, they don't want to be picked up. So just don't pick up a wild snake unless you know what you're doing. You have the proper tools like my snake hook, and you know how to operate it proficiently.
So how far can a venomous snake strike? And they can strike without being coiled, is that right?
Yeah, so some snakes, if you see the traditional S position, definitely that snake is unbelievably stressed. But a good rule of thumb is that snake can definitely lunge out over half its body. It will lunge forward.
So like say if you see one on the side of the trail and you're over half its body weight length away from it.
Yeah, like where we are right now, we're on a 5.5 foot wide path. If it's on the left-hand side and we're on the right, that's got to be a big snake. Like most likely, yeah, no, there's no way. Just stay on the right-hand side.
All right.
Snake hunting.
Oh, God.
Yes, sir.
Have y'all found any?
We heard one, just one. We haven't seen any yet, no.
Yeah, my only experience was probably about a month and a half ago. Cottonmouth over there on the other side of the trail. I was like, gosh.
Did it chase you?
No, it stood its ground. See? But y'all are scaring me with that snake stick out here. Well, good luck to you.
Thank you, sir.
So, what are some other ways to recognize a venomous snake?
So a good rule of thumb can be the quote-unquote diamond-shaped head, but that is not 100% foolproof. A lot of snakes can flatten out their heads and appear to be venomous, so that way a potential predator does not come up on them and try to eat them. So if they look venomous, a predator might be like, okay, I'm not going to mess with that. But a lot of snakes can, in defense, flatten out their head. And then, the other one, a lot of people think that the cat eyes is a venomous snake, and that's just not true. So a cat eyeball, the slit, like you see with a lot of pit vipers, just means it's nocturnal. So you see a round pupil, it just means it's out during the day, like a corn snake, or even water snakes, they have round pupils. That means they're out during the day and they go to sleep at night. You see a snake with slit eyes, that means it's active at nighttime. So pit vipers, because they use their heat-seeking pits on the front of their face, they are out at nighttime hunting their prey items like rats, mice, small frogs, and stuff like that.
And when you say pit vipers, what would we commonly call those?
So, the pit vipers around here, you're going to have the copperhead, the cottonmouth, the pygmy rattler, the diamondback, and the timber rattlesnake. And then the sixth one, which we do not have here in central Arkansas, is the Texas coral snake. That is more down south, like on the Louisiana line border of Arkansas. You should respect them all, especially if you do not know what it is. Because like I said, anything with a mouth can bite, and if you have something with a nasty bite, whether it be just a very bacteria-filled mouth from things that eat carrion, which is dead stuff, that's just you can get just as sick from getting a bite from a water snake that eats dead fish, dead frogs that's already been dead for a while, to a snake that has venom, just the way your body reacts to it all. But yeah, so just respect wildlife. Don't just go off handling things just because it looks cool or you saw it on a YouTube video. Respect the animal. It doesn't matter if it's in the wild or it's in a private collection. Just respect it. Because in my opinion, most of the venomous stuff is going to be the stuff that's most scared of you. Every single time. Some of the snakes that are a little bit more bold, like the rat snake, because it is a larger snake, they're not as feared. And there's just some that just have a better, just species-wise, has a better personality than ones that are a little bit just naturally more defensive.
So is this where you're going to come back and go running?
Oh, 100%. Especially if I'm here for drill weekend or AT, I'm definitely coming out here. If they're like self-PT, I'm coming to the track. Or I'm coming to this little trail.
This has been Drill Weekend with the Arkansas Army National Guard. I'm Sergeant First Class Jim Houston. Thank you for joining us. See you next drill.
That was a snake.
Oh.
Yeah. If you were to hear that, that's a lizard running through grass. But that was a snake.